New York has become the epicenter of this outbreak. Nearly half of all American cases are in New York right now. My next guest led New York City through its most devastating time until now, the September 11th attacks. Joining me right now for an exclusive interview is former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. And Rudy, it's good to have you this morning. Thanks very much for being here.
Good to see you, Maria.
You know, there are some similarities when we look back at 9/11. Yes, everything is good here. But, Rudy, I remember being with you on September 17th, 2001. And that was the day that the markets reopened after the 9/11 attacks. It was the Monday following that Tuesday, if you remember. And you were on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. You rang the bell with the first responders. And then we were on the floor of the exchange, and you led the city back. Tell me how you see this moment in time in terms of similarities, if there are any, in terms of knowing that we're down but not out, and we will resume again.
Well, that's the similarity. I mean, obviously, these are two different things. One was an immediate attack that happened in one day, and we lost, you know, almost 3,000 people. Worst attack, domestic attack, you know, by foreign sources ever in the history of the country. It was devastating to our confidence. We had never been attacked like that before. We were worried about further attacks. And remember, a month later, we got anthrax, which probably was a little more similar to what this is, although not nearly as bad. This is different. This is a long-term situation where people are just going to have to be, we have to be patient and listen to the instructions that we're getting from medical people, from our political leaders. It makes sense that we isolate ourselves. It makes sense that we, you know, try to be careful in the communications with each other. And we don't know this virus. This is a new virus. We have 3 months of experience with it. I mean, the first cases go back to what, December? Oh, now this is March. This is a very, very new virus. I think it's remarkable how quickly we've caught up. There already seem to be some promising remedies. Let's hope they work. I've spent a lot of time talking to various doctors who have worked on them, and they seem pretty hopeful about it, particularly the hydroxyquinoline and Z-Pak. And of course we're going to come back. I mean, there's no doubt we're going to come back very, very strong. You think about the effect on the economy is from an outside source. It's not anything having to do with our economy. Our economy was fine. This is completely external to the economy. It's obviously going to do tremendous damage, but fundamentally, the American economy has all of the same fundamentals that it had before, and I think it can rebuild pretty darn quickly.
But I feel like after 9/11, you know, a lot of people's behavior changed. I mean, you mentioned we had anthrax after the attacks. People were afraid of terrorism. That was sort of in the back of their minds, and it was dictating the way that they behaved in all ways. Do you think that what we've experienced during coronavirus will change our behavior in some way, change the way we operate, the way we approach life and work?
Yeah, it already has, right? I mean, I just thought I haven't shake hands with somebody in 2 weeks. I think I may not remember how to shake hands. So I mean, yes, we're going to be. First of all, I think we're going to be more careful. I think our hygiene is going to be better. I think we're going to wash our hands more often. We're going to be more careful about, you know, what we do and where we go. For now, for sure. I mean. But I mean, some permanent changes from 9/11, right? Air travel is totally different now than it was before 9/11 with the checks that are done and how careful we are about it. This is going to remain with us for a long time, and I think those changes will be for the good. Remember, we lose something like 20,000, 30,000 people a year to the flu. We probably shouldn't lose 20,000 to 30,000 people to the flu. We probably lose 20,000 to 30,000 people to the flu because we're not careful. And this maybe, just maybe, it'll teach us some things that we're going to need to know about both the flu, which is with us, going to be with us, and there'll be other forms of viruses. I mean, the virus is with us, and I think we're going to learn a lot, and it's going to help us. Second, I think when we come through it, we're going to feel a great sense of confidence that we can handle this. Right now, I feel that confidence, but I'm sure a lot of people I tend to be that kind of person. But a lot of people are still worried, and we still don't know what the end result is going to be.
So you mentioned the airlines.
Yeah, it was like that way with 9/11.
Because we were afraid. Yeah, we were afraid of traveling on a plane that there would be a terrorist. I mean, who's going to get back on a plane now wondering if it's clean, if there's any remnants? Look, what are your thoughts on Cuomo? Because the New York governor, Andrew Cuomo, said yesterday that while public health is a priority, he believes young people can go back to work if properly tested, and that we do not need to choose between a strong economy and keeping people safe. The president also wants this economy back up and running by Easter. It doesn't sound like just the way we would act that would be possible, is it?
Well, first of all, I think that both the president and Governor Cuomo have been the stars in handling this. I think their leadership has been superb and bipartisan. And look, I don't see the other governors as much. I'm sure they're doing a good job also. But I think Governor Cuomo, I'm really impressed with the way he's handled this. And I'm very impressed with the way the president has handled it, particularly his early action in cutting off people coming in from China, when he was viciously attacked for doing it. And now I think everyone agrees that whatever happens, that saved thousands and thousands and thousands of lives. I'm very impressed also how both of them have gotten on top of something they knew nothing about 4 months ago. I mean, no one knew about COVID-19, including doctors, 4 months ago. So I think we could be very confident in our leadership. I also think that's good for us. Good for us. I mean, horrible that it had to happen this way, that we have this bipartisan cooperation. Gee, we can still do it. I think there were a lot of people who thought 2 months ago that we couldn't do another 9/11. In other words, we couldn't come together. We can when we have to, because America is still America.
And fight back together.
Being a Democrat and Republican is still second, third, fourth, or fifth. Yeah, I mean, I think
Rudy,
those are things those are things that'll help when we get through it. Right now, people are frightened. You're not going to talk them out of it. I learned that. I learned with 9/11 that people come out of it they all come out of it, but they come out of it in their own time.
Right.
And all you can do is urge them, like the governor is doing, I would like to see. I agree with the governor and the president. Look, I urged. It was a different situation, but I urged Broadway to come back 3 days later, and they didn't want to do it at first. Nobody went to any of the theaters the first night. I urged. Good point.
Let me ask you about coronavirus. Coronavirus is raging through the prison system as well. I was on the phone with somebody the other day who told me that now she's going through requests every day from families who want to get inmates out because they're afraid that coronavirus is raging in the prison system. Now, New York City crime is down 17% this month amid the coronavirus crisis, reversing an upward trend, according to new data from the NYPD. Right. But what's your take in terms of what's happening now with more inmates being released, Rudy? I mean, we were talking about that horrible bail reform law. By the way, Andrew Cuomo told me he's going to have answers to this by April 1st. But right now, they're looking at new requests to let more inmates out because the inmates are afraid that coronavirus is raging through the prison system.
I think they should remain in prison and isolate. Right? I don't think they should be released into the streets because of coronavirus. I mean, if it's raging through the prisons, all they're going to do is spread it. Well, then it's got to be treated in the prisons. The way Prince Charles has to stay home. I mean, he's in a lot better place in a prison, but he's got to stay home. It makes no sense to me that you will let them out of prison. If it's raging through the prisons, then the chances that of the large numbers you're going to release, some of them have the virus and are going to spread it, is if you leave New York and you go somewhere, you got to self-isolate for 14 days, and we're letting people out of prison. Yeah. I mean that makes sense to me.
I want to make sure
it
New
does
Yorkers
make sense to me that we try to get.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think we want to release people from prison because we want to release people from prison. I mean, with all the crazy bail laws that have taken place, and I mean, this is a kind of a strange thing that has happened in New York, but it's just totally illogical that you'd want to release people from prison because coronavirus is raging in the prisons.
Well, I just want to make sure our viewers understand because 2 years ago, 2 years ago, I was the one who came on the show and brought our viewers the information that 3/4 of all inmates were about to be released because of a number of reasons. They wanted to close down Rikers. They wanted to, have different capacity for prisoners. And then there was the bail reform law. So we told you that first. Now I'm telling you again, the coronavirus is pushing more inmates to be released. That's what I'm hearing from the inside, that they are looking at requests every day.
And we're talking about that. We're talking about thousands,
want to make sure our audience
right?
understands what I'm reporting here. Yeah, exactly. Thousands.
Yeah, we're talking,
Rudy,
in the thousands, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's good to see you too, Maria, and stay healthy. And we're going to look. We're going to come through this, and we'll have a lot more confidence as a result of it. I'm absolutely sure of that.